Hey guys, welcome to the Football Overseas YouTube channel. We are live. This is a pre-recorded video of Premier League Game Week 30, and obviously there's 9 games to go. That is Game Week 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. 9 games to go to the end of the season, and this is the do or die. Every game matters for every team. Every game can lead to any possibility, and obviously we kick off with the first fixture, that is Burnley versus Bournemouth. Burnley is managed by Scott Parker, and the face against Adoni Irada side. Adoni currently has his contract expiring at the end of the season. Bournemouth is trying to renew it, and Adoni is seeing the options that is being put up to him, because he's a manager who's being sought after by Man United, Tottenham, and I know as a manager you need to see the best option. Obviously, last 5 head-to-head favors Bournemouth, and Burnley's last 3 games, Burnley lost to Everton 2-0 away from home. They lost to Brentford at home 4-3, and they drew to 10-man Chelsea 1-1. So it's not the best form. And also Bournemouth, they drew to Brentford 0-0, and they drew to Sunderland 1-1, and they drew to West Ham 0-0. So obviously Burnley has 19 points, 58 GA, and Bournemouth has 40 points. So Bournemouth is solid away, and I'm going for a 2-0 prediction. Next game is Sunderland versus Brighton. Sunderland had a poor FA Cup run. They were knocked out by Port Valley away from home. That was 1-0, and obviously Sunderland is out of FA Cup, but they're doing quite well, and they're hosting Brighton. Brighton is managed by Fabian, and these two sides have met twice back to back. Brighton has never dropped any points against Sunderland, and Sunderland in the last 3 games they have only lost once, and they've collected 4 points out of the last 3 games. And Brighton has lost once, they've collected 6 points. So obviously Brighton is more informed than Sunderland is, and Brighton rarely scores 4 goals away from home, and Sunderland just beat and their fellow promoted side Leeds away as well. So Brighton has scored 38 goals in 29 games. That is 1.31 per game, and I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Brighton. Next game is Arsenal versus Everton. Arsenal has had a tough journey to Germany. They needed a penalty to come back to draw 1-1, and they are playing against Leverkusen. They're playing against Leverkusen. They're hosting Leverkusen in Emirates for the second leg, and that's going to be a tough game as well. So it will not be easy, and they need all man at deck. Obviously, Arteta is facing against David Moyes. Arteta's boys are currently 5 points ahead, and if they drop points in this game, they give City a chance for a title touch, and Arsenal doesn't want that. Arsenal is strong. Arsenal has won 4 out of the last 5 games against West Ham. Arsenal has a 3-game winning streak the last 3 games. Everton has had 2 games win, one loss to Man United. So that obviously will mean Arsenal beat Brighton 1-0. They beat Chelsea 2-1, and they beat Spurs 4-1. That's 67 points. That's 67 points in total, 7 points ahead of City, and Arsenal must keep winning big as well so that that gap can widen. And Arsenal has lost to Burnley in game week. Everton has beaten Burnley 2-0 in game week 29. Arsenal play Leverkusen 3 days after Everton, that is after this weekend, and Arsenal have another 8 days after that. Arsenal have from this game against Everton, they have 8 days until the Carabao Cup final and against City. So I think for Arsenal, I'm going to go for a tight win. I'm going to go for a win of 2-0. There's a lot of games to play for, and Arteta might have to rotate because, let's be honest, Arsenal needs to win at Emirates to advance to the quarterfinals, and one game has to be sacrificed. Obviously, that means that this game has to go. Yeah, so I'm going to go for Arsenal 2-0 win against Everton. Next is game 4. That is Chelsea versus Newcastle. Chelsea versus Newcastle is Liam Rossellini versus Eddie Howe. Newcastle has always played favourite to Chelsea. Newcastle has beaten Chelsea, Newcastle has always beaten Chelsea. Chelsea has only managed to get one win in the last 5 games. Newcastle has gotten 3 wins against Chelsea, so obviously the odds are there as well. And Chelsea has managed to get 4 points in the last 3 games. Newcastle has managed to get 3 points in the last 3 games. 1 win, 2 loss. Chelsea 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, and yeah, tighter. Obviously, for Chelsea, what's working for Chelsea is Chelsea has just lost 5-2 to PSG. They're hosting PSG in the UCL round of 16 second leg, and Chelsea know there's no need to rotate because they're basically out of the Champions League, and they just need to focus on the title race, on the race for UCL football. And they're facing against Newcastle. Newcastle has a better chance of qualifying for UCL quarterfinals because they drew to Barcelona 1-1 away from home, and Newcastle also lost to they beat United 2-1 with 10 men as well. Newcastle have Barcelona away from home. They have Barcelona away from home on Wednesday. I think that is 3 days after Chelsea, and obviously Newcastle is tired from playing against Barcelona at St James Park, and they have to rest some legs and save some legs for the return leg at Camp Nou. So obviously this favors Chelsea a lot, and yeah, so this one I'm going to go for a 2-0 win, a 2-1 win for Chelsea. Yeah. Next is West Ham versus City. That is Nuno versus Pep's team. Obviously Pep is my thing dropped. So obviously Pep played against Madrid. That performance against Madrid was poor, very, very poor performance. Madrid outclassed Pep's team in the first half, and Man City needs to react, but also they need to save legs for the game against Real Madrid because they have Real Madrid in the midweek. They also have Arsenal in the cup final. So this game is a tight game, very, very tight game, and I think Pep will rotate before UCL and finals because he has 2 tough games coming up. West Ham, this works in West Ham favor because Pep has Real Madrid to host, and also Arsenal in a neutral stadium, so he has to rotate. And Pep also doesn't want to fully rotate as well because he wants to catch up to Arsenal and he wants to overtake Arsenal eventually, because he knows if Man City drops points again in another game, they're basically handing over the trophy to Arsenal. So it will be a tough game, very tough game. I'm going for 2-0 Man City. Next game is Crystal Palace versus Leeds. Wow. The way Crystal Palace performed in the Conference League, I'm just convinced that Glasner doesn't want to be at Crystal Palace anymore, because that was a boring game. 0-0 against Lacana. Lacana is an easy team. We should be smashing 3-0, especially with Crystal Palace squad strength. But now Crystal Palace have to go away from home. 3 days after hosting Leeds, they have to go away from home and manage to go to the quarterfinals, because if Crystal Palace is knocked out in a round of 16 to Lacana, that will add turmoil to Glasner's reputation. And even if Glasner is leaving at the end of the season, could Glasner be sacked before the end of the season? Maybe not, maybe they will. But anyway, Glasner is facing against Dan Ofaki. Glasner has always had favorable head-to-head against Leeds. Crystal Palace have always had favorable head-to-head against Leeds in the last 5 games. Crystal Palace has just beaten 10 men. Spurs 3-1 away from home. They lost to United 2-1. Crystal Palace had 10 men, and they beat 10 men Wolves 1-0. One thing that is guaranteed is in the last 3 games there was 3 red cards. So 1 red card per game. That means if this streak continues, could Leeds or Palace get a red card in this game? You never know. But anyway, Leeds have never had any red card in the last 3 games. They have just lost to Sunderland and Man City 1-0 each at home, and they drew to Villa 1-1. So obviously the games are tight games, and for this game I'm going to go for a 2-0 win. I think Glasner needs to come back, and even though he's not in a title race, I still believe he'll do well. Yeah, so next game is Manchester United versus Villa. Manchester United is hosted by Michael Carrick versus Unai Emery. Man United has favorable form against Villa. United has always beaten Villa away from home since Sir Alex Ferguson times, even before Sir Alex Ferguson time. We have never dropped points. We have never gotten a loss against Villa. And also Villa has never gotten back-to-back wins against United in the season since the Premier League was created. So a lot of things are working in our favor. And one thing I want to see in this game, I want to delve much into this game because there's a preview coming up tomorrow. One thing I want to see is how Carrick bounces back after he has had his first loss as an interim manager, and after Man United has had its first loss in the league in 2026. So yeah, it also a reality check. Number one, United has lost to 10 men Newcastle 2-1, first loss under Carrick. They've beaten Palace 2-1. They've beaten Everton 1-0, and Villa has just lost to Chelsea 4-1. They have lost to Wolves 2-0, and Villa is hosting Lille at home for the second leg, that is in Europa League, and Villa is leading 1-0 at aggregate, and Villa needs to rotate to save legs for Lille. I know that sounds funny, but last time Villa played against Lille managed to get a win against Villa, and Villa needed penalties to advance to the next stage, and that was in Conference League, and Villa doesn't want to repeat the same history. So rotation is a must, and I think in this game I'll go for a 2-0 win for United. Next is Nottingham versus Forest. Nottingham, I watched the match against Nottingham versus Midtjylland. Nottingham lost to Midtjylland at home. Fulham has just beaten Spurs 2-1, and yeah, so obviously that performance is, it is Victor Pereira versus Marco Silva. Forest has had a draw against Man City 2-2, and they lost to Brighton and Liverpool by 1 goal difference. Fulham has lost to West Ham, Tottenham, Sunderland. They have lost to West Ham and Tottenham by 1 goal difference. They have lost to Sunderland they have beaten. Fulham has lost to West Ham by 1 goal difference. They have beaten Tottenham 2-1. They beat Sunderland 3-1 as well. So this one I'm going for a 2-0 win for Fulham, upset win. But anyway, next game is Liverpool versus Tottenham. If you know the history between these two, there's a lot of history, and especially Liverpool versus Tottenham, there's a lot of goals guaranteed. And